It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hope and a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all. Aye, pilgrim. It's a small world. I'll be telling you it'll be a small world after all. Duh. It is world small. All right, so it is a small world after all. A little continuation of globalization. This is part two. So if you hadn't watched part one yet, go check it out. Um, and the world is changing. That's kind of why I changed it up. In the first one, you heard the old original way of small world. We throw a little new beats, little horrible singing or rapping or whatever you want to call it in, and it's changed just like the world changes. So start out with a question to pose a question to you: independence or interdependence? Which do you think is best? Us being here in America. I mean, if you're watching this from anywhere else, ask is it what is best for your country? What's best for the United States? What's best for whatever country you're from? Uh, so, what do you think's better? What's better for the whole world? So let's find out more about this interdependence and interdependence. But keep that question on your mind and think about it. Interdependence. Resilience on people in other places for goods and services. Okay? That is where you rely on someone. Like I am a teacher. I teach things, so I'm relied upon to teach. I'm not a farmer, so I rely upon someone to farm and produce food. I rely upon someone to produce the gas in my car. I rely on someone to fix my car. So for me, the comparative advantage was to teach. And I rely on people to do these different things. And this can promote economic growth, uh, increase global standard of living. And think, we're discussing this more. I'm giving you examples on a personal level, but think about this on a global level. If we rely on this country to produce this and this country to produce this, you know, various different things. One country produces oil, one country produces lumber, one country produces food, um, and this increase will increase the global standard of living. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue tied there. Uh, but this also creates a loss of independence. And this is where a lot of people, fuss about globalization. Uh, it can be affected by what happens in other countries. Uh, this is sometimes why we care nowadays so much more about what's happening in a lot of these other countries, is because we are more interdependent on them than we once were. Like all the turmoil that goes on in the Middle East, or the stuff that's happening in Russia and Ukraine right now. So all these things can affect us here because the world is becoming more interdependent. The growth of globalization. Globalization has been around for a long time. The people spread out and found that they had neighbors, and they found, hey, other countries, other continents. You had explorers set out and they found, the Americas. So globalization has been around for a long time. Uh, Roman Empire, they spread throughout. The Silk Road, it was the trade between Europe and Asia. Okay, long time has globalization been here. Countries have increased their markets through colonization. What they would do is send out, and I would start a colony in a new area. That colony would send me its raw materials, and then I would produce something with those raw materials. Let's say they sent me lumber. Well, I would build ships, and then I would send them ships. I would sell them the ships back. Okay, so and that opens up these markets, and so that has helped spread globalization. Colonialism forced colonists to trade only with its mother countries, like I was just talking about, and that's who they had to trade with. Colonialism failed, though, and in the 20th century, we can still feel the effects from it, or in the 21st century, we can still feel uh, the effects from this colonization. Think about the ties that the United States has with England. We once were a colony of England. Can I play in your sandbox? Not all countries are integrated into the global trade. Some countries want to be left out. For a long time, China uh, decided that it didn't want to trade with anybody. It didn't want to open its doors. There was a period in its history that it uh, kind of said, hey, no, we're going to be isolationists and we're going to stay back. And there are countries that are like that today, and there are some countries that just haven't reached the level of globalization yet. Um, those who are in this globalized sandbox, they grow in wealth and prosperity. Those who are not are poor and much less industrialized. And a lot of these would be some of your third world countries. But as globalization comes there, they begin getting infrastructure built up and so forth. And that's what we're about to talk about. What are things to help global trade? Uh, for 1,000, Alex. All right, infrastructure. It's a physical systems that enable transportation and commerce. What are some examples of this? Um, and some basic examples, just to mention, of infrastructure, roads, bridges, those kind of things that are built up so that commerce and things can happen. Uh, and to talk here are some more examples that happen. Containerization, the use of standard containers to utilize cargo for transportation, supply, and storage. How many of us have seen a movie or been to the docks or somehow seen these giant canisters or containers? Um, they're blue, they're red, they're white. You see them in different colors, and they're long, they're rectangular. Uh, and they are that size because they fit on boats, they fit on trains, they can be hauled by trucks. You can put whatever you want in them, and you can ship it that way. So it has made things easier to ship. It has come up with one specific method, and that is called containerization. Transportation, setting up different ways, like I mentioned, roads, bridges, setting up airports for flights, railroads. Communication, the ability to communicate, phone towers, satellites, various things that set up the ability to be able to communicate throughout this country, this area, the world. Outsourcing. It's when you send a job from one place to another, usually another country. And this is a big topic here in the United States right now, and it has been for a little while now, about a lot of American jobs leaving the United States and going to other countries that have cheaper labor. Um, Reduction of regulations and opening of trade. The more regulations there are, the harder it is to bring in this infrastructure to bring in this globalization and trade. Uh, the fewer regulations, the easier it is for this to happen and take place. Splitting of the world. Something else to look at is regionalization. It's the growth of networks of interdependence within a multinational region of the world. For example, Europe. Europe has come up with the euro. Uh, they've created their whole little regionalized area where the euro is used, where it's this whole European nations or the European Union. And it brings those countries that are close geographically into a tighter economic bond. They are more interdependent on each other. And how would you divide up the world? Some people say You have that European Union should spread on down some. That you should have this Asian Union, and then you should have this American Union. They talk about there being, three world uh, regional unions and three world currencies to help stop with all the currency issues and so forth. So, what do you think? Schoolyard bullies. There are still those in the globalized world. The United States and Europe plus Japan have dominated trade for many years. The rise of Asia. China is rising up. It's becoming more and more prominent in the global world. Russia is starting to rise up. We just had the Winter Olympics there. Russia just took, is taking over parts of Ukraine right now. So, all these different areas, and some of these people can bully others around. For example, Russia taking over the Ukraine. Now, is it right? Is it wrong? Well, that's for you to decide, or other people to decide. It's what happens, though. But every country that has power does it. So, think about it. Write in the comments or something, or let me know. Is globalization a good thing or a bad thing? Explain why you think so. And tell me where you think globalization is going and what effects you'll think it'll have on the world. Will this be what ends the world, or will this just bring the world into a new era? So until next time, deuces!